Something shifted the moment your eyes truly opened. Chosen One. The ancient watchers felt it like a seismic tremor through their carefully constructed networks of control. Where once their rituals held you in place like invisible chains, now their magic bounces off your awakened consciousness like rain against bulletproof glass. The confusion in their ranks grows with each passing day as their most trusted spells crumble into useless dust. Your awakening wasn't an accident. Every seemingly random event that led you to this moment was orchestrated by forces far greater than the shadowy figures who thought they owned your destiny. The family member who betrayed your location for their 30 pieces of silver, the workplace where unseen eyes tracked your every movement, the relationship that felt like a beautiful prison. All of it was a carefully constructed maze designed to keep your power dormant. But something magnificent happened when you finally walked away from what no longer served your highest purpose. The Watchers had grown comfortable in their surveillance. For generations they perfected the art of keeping chosen ones trapped in cycles of dependency and spiritual slumber. They positioned themselves in your orbit through carefully placed connections, watching your energy signature like hawks circling prey. Every challenge they threw at you was calculated to drain your spiritual batteries, keeping you operating from a place of survival rather than divine connection. But their greatest miscalculation was underestimating the moment when you would remember who you truly are. Your period of isolation wasn't punishment, it was preparation. While they scrambled to understand why their influence over you suddenly vanished, you underwent a complete energetic transformation in the sacred space of solitude. The death of your old self happened in silence, away from their prying eyes, protected by forces they could never comprehend. During those quiet hours when the world felt heavy and uncertain, your true spiritual DNA was rewriting itself at the cellular level. The Watchers employ sophisticated methods of spiritual suppression that most people never recognize. They flood chosen ones with intrusive thoughts designed to lower vibrational frequency, whispers of unworthiness, urges toward numbing substances, floods of traumatic memories, surfacing at inconvenient moments. These aren't random mental fluctuations, they're targeted psychic attacks launched from their ritual chambers. Their arsenal includes manufactured cravings for alcohol that seem to arise from nowhere, sudden impulses towards self-destructive behaviors that feel foreign to your true nature, and obsessive consumption of negative media that floods your consciousness with fear-based frequencies. But here's what they never anticipated. Once your divine connection solidifies, their artificial interference becomes as obvious as someone shouting in a library. The recognition process becomes your greatest weapon against their mental intrusions. When thoughts of inadequacy suddenly flood your mind, you pause and ask yourself, do these thoughts carry the signature of my authentic voice, or do they feel imposed from external sources? The difference becomes unmistakable once you understand what to look for. Your genuine thoughts arise organically from your experiences and values, while their planted suggestions feel artificial, urgent, and disconnected from your true emotional landscape. This discernment transforms you from victim to observer, watching their desperate attempts to regain influence over your consciousness. What terrifies them most is the magnetic pull you now exert toward your spiritual counterpart. Their ancient protocols include detailed instructions for preventing powerful souls from finding each other because they understand the exponential threat two awakened beings create when they unite. Your growing spiritual awareness sends out an energetic beacon that your destined partner recognizes on a soul level despite never having met you in physical reality. This person carries gifts that will astound you, psychic abilities so refined they can read the energy signatures of people they've never encountered. The Watchers are throwing everything they have at preventing this union. Their panic manifests as increasingly desperate attempts to create chaos in your life, hoping to derail the divine timing that's bringing you and your spiritual match together. They understand that two awakened souls operating in harmony can accomplish things that individual chosen ones cannot, things that pose existential threats to their carefully maintained systems of control. Your combined energy creates frequencies that expose their hidden operations on levels they never imagined possible. Their surveillance methods have evolved far beyond simple physical observation. They position themselves strategically throughout your daily environment. The coworker who asks unusually personal questions about your spiritual interests. The neighbor who seems to appear whenever you're having meaningful conversations on your phone. The service providers who linger longer than necessary during routine appointments. These human assets collect intelligence about your energy patterns, emotional responses, and spiritual development phases. They report back through channels that would astonish you with their reach into seemingly innocent social structures. The Watchers have perfected the art of manufacturing coincidental encounters that feel spiritually significant but actually serve their surveillance purposes. The social media account that shares content perfectly aligned with your current spiritual questions. The chance meeting with someone who claims to have experienced similar challenges. These orchestrated interactions gather information about your current consciousness level and spiritual vulnerabilities. They use this intelligence to design more sophisticated attacks against your energy field. But their most insidious weapon involves the manipulation of your compassionate nature. They position damaged individuals in your path who genuinely need help, knowing that your awakened heart will naturally extend assistance. These encounters aren't inherently harmful, but they become energy-draining traps when the person requires more support than any individual can provide. The Watchers count on your guilt over setting boundaries, your fear of abandoning someone in need, and your confusion about distinguishing healthy assistance from codependent rescue patterns. They exploit your spiritual gifts to create circumstances that deplete your energy reserves. But their confusion runs deeper than failed magic tricks. For centuries, their methods worked with mathematical precision. They could predict how chosen ones would respond to specific triggers, how long certain spells would keep them trapped, which emotional wounds could be weaponized to maintain control. Your awakening represents something they've never encountered before, a chosen one who not only broke free from their influence, but became completely immune to their standard operating procedures. Their most experienced practitioners are baffled by the way their most powerful rituals simply dissolve when directed toward your energy field. The hierarchical structure of their organization spans multiple levels of initiated members, from local assets who barely understand their role in the larger operation, to high-degree practitioners who possess genuine occult knowledge. The confusion ripples through every level as reports filter upward about the complete failure of their time-tested methods. Local operatives receive increasingly frantic instructions to try alternative approaches, while senior members convene emergency sessions to analyze what they term unprecedented spiritual anomalies in their target assessment reports. Their ritual chambers echo with the frustrated chanting of practitioners attempting to reinforce spells that once held chosen ones in spiritual bondage for decades. The ceremonial tools that channeled their intentions with reliable precision now feel inert in their hands. Sacred geometries that amplified their magical workings produce no measurable effects when directed toward your consciousness. Ancient bloodline members who inherited these practices from their ancestors face the terrifying possibility that their generational power has encountered something beyond their understanding. The financial networks they use to maintain control operate through seemingly legitimate business structures that provide them with both surveillance capabilities and economic leverage over chosen ones. Banks that mysteriously approve loans for purchases that later become financial burdens, investment opportunities that appear lucrative but drain resources over time, career positions that offer security in exchange for spiritual compromise. These systems rely on chosen ones remaining unconscious of the spiritual costs of material comfort. Your awakening revealed the energetic price of their assistance, making you immune to their economic enticements. The family member or close associate who sold you out for material gain represents the oldest trick in their playbook. They identify someone in your inner circle who can be bought, threatened, or manipulated into providing access to your energy patterns. This person becomes an unwitting gateway, allowing the Watchers to study your vulnerabilities and design custom spiritual attacks. But when you walked away from that toxic connection, you severed their primary access point to your consciousness. The betrayal cuts deeper because this person often genuinely loves you, while remaining completely unconscious of how their actions serve darker purposes. They might be a parent whose financial struggles make them vulnerable to offers of assistance in exchange for information about your spiritual interests and daily routines. Perhaps a sibling whose addictive behaviors create dependencies that the Watchers exploit to gain access to your family dynamics. Sometimes it's a romantic partner whose own unhealed trauma makes them susceptible to manipulation through promises of security or threats of abandonment. The Watchers excel at identifying and exploiting the specific emotional triggers that make people compromise their integrity. They study family histories spanning generations to understand inherited patterns of dysfunction that can be activated on command. They know which buttons to push to make your loved ones act against your best interests while genuinely believing they're helping you. The sophistication of their psychological manipulation extends beyond simple bribery into complex emotional engineering that turns your closest relationships into surveillance networks. This betrayal serves a deeper purpose in your spiritual development than simple punishment or obstacle creation. The pain of discovering that someone you trusted completely was feeding information to forces working against your highest good catalyzes a level of discernment that peaceful circumstances never could. Your naive trust transforms into wise compassion. You learn to love people without needing them to be perfect, while simultaneously protecting your energy from those who aren't capable of handling it responsibly. Your period of apparent defeat was actually your greatest victory. While you processed the emotional weight of betrayal and transformation, cosmic forces were restructuring your entire spiritual operating system. The death experience you underwent wasn't just metaphorical. Old patterns, limiting beliefs, and energetic contracts with lower vibrational entities were literally dissolved from your energy body. You emerged from that dark night of the soul as a completely different person, operating on frequencies that their outdated methods cannot touch. The isolation felt brutal because your consciousness was undergoing complete rewiring while simultaneously processing the grief of multiple endings. Relationships that once provided comfort revealed themselves as sources of energetic drainage. Career paths that promised security exposed themselves as spiritual prisons. Social circles that offered belonging demanded conformity to values that no longer resonated with your expanding awareness. The simultaneous loss of these familiar structures created a void that felt like death itself. During this period, your dreams became unusually vivid and filled with symbolic imagery that traditional dream interpretation couldn't decode. You experienced the sensation of traveling to other dimensions during sleep, receiving instruction from beings whose presence felt more real than your waking reality. These weren't fantasies or psychological projections, but actual spiritual education taking place on planes of existence that bypass the Watcher's surveillance capabilities. Your conscious mind struggled to integrate these experiences, while your soul absorbed teachings that would prove essential for your emerging mission. Hey, this is Mike and Ari cutting into your regularly scheduled Chosen One programming for just a moment. We are the founders of the Obsidian Inner Order and the Astral Atom Network, and we're done playing nice. We're in a spiritual war. You know it, we know it, and we're out here bleeding for this mission full time. I'm hungry for fourth dimensional Archon blood, but we need the ammunition. So listen, when you join the Inner Order, you're not just supporting us, you're getting access to exclusive tools they never wanted you to have: psychic self-defense training, targeted individual intel, spiritual warfare tactics they scrub from the internet. And every week, we meet in secret, chosen ones only, on Zoom, no filters, no fluff, just real gnosis, real family, real power. It's a 360-degree win. You get what you need, we get to keep fighting. So don't just watch, drop a like, share this video to everyone you know. Now, 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 and join the Obsidian Inner Order. Let's finish what we started. Link in the description. Let's freaking go. The physical symptoms that accompanied your spiritual death included unexplained fatigue that sleep couldn't cure, dietary changes that seemed to arise from cellular wisdom rather than conscious choice, and sensitivity to electromagnetic fields that made modern technology feel oppressive. Your body was literally upgrading its energetic systems to handle higher frequencies, while your nervous system recalibrated to process expanded ranges of spiritual information. The Watchers interpreted these symptoms as evidence of successful spiritual attack, never recognizing they were witnessing the birth of something beyond their comprehension. The Watchers are experiencing something unprecedented in their organizational history. Their ritual chambers echo with frustrated incantations that produce no results. Their scrying methods show them blank spaces where your energy signature used to be clearly visible. The expensive surveillance networks they maintained through your former connections now report only static. They're witnessing the birth of something they thought was theoretical, a chosen one who has completely transcended their sphere of influence. What they fear most is already happening. Your spiritual gifts are coming online with increasing intensity, and your destined partner is being drawn toward you through mechanisms that operate beyond their understanding. This person represents everything they tried to prevent, someone whose natural psychic abilities will amplify your own awakened consciousness to levels that create actual threats to their hidden empire. Together, your combined frequencies will expose secrets they've protected for generations. Your destined partner carries a piece of the puzzle that completes your spiritual circuitry. While you developed certain gifts through your awakening process, they cultivated complementary abilities through their own journey. When your energies combine, you'll form something the Watchers have nightmares about, a unified consciousness capable of operating on multiple dimensional levels simultaneously. Your partner's psychic sensitivity, combined with your newly awakened power, creates a frequency that dissolves their illusions like sunlight burning through fog. This person possesses the rare gift of energetic sight, the ability to perceive the spiritual signatures that surround every individual, location, and situation. They can sense the presence of Watchers before physical confirmation appears, detect the residual energy of ritual workings in spaces where ceremonies took place, and recognize the artificial frequency signatures that mark psychic attacks. Their sensitivity developed through experiences that taught them to trust their energetic perceptions over social conditioning that dismisses such abilities as imagination. The precision of their psychic accuracy will astound you when you witness it firsthand. They can describe the emotional states of people they've never met, predict the outcomes of situations based on energetic patterns rather than logical analysis, and receive detailed information about your past experiences through direct spiritual download. This isn't parlor trick fortune-telling, but authentic spiritual perception that operates beyond the limitations of five-sensory awareness. Their journey toward you involves navigating guided impulses that appear to make no logical sense but feel undeniably correct on a soul level. They might receive sudden urges to visit specific locations where your energy signature lingers, experience dreams about your appearance before meeting you physically, or feel compelled to make life changes that align their path with yours. The Watchers cannot interfere with this guidance because it operates through direct divine communication rather than manipulable external circumstances. The timing of your meeting follows divine orchestration that accounts for both your readiness levels and the cosmic alignments that support your combined mission. Neither of you could have handled this union before completing your individual spiritual development phases. Your partner needed to develop their psychic gifts to the level where they could assist in your continued awakening, while you needed to establish your energetic sovereignty to the degree where you could support their sensitive nature without being overwhelmed by their abilities. The confusion in their ranks extends to their highest levels. Ancient bloodline families who have maintained control for millennia are calling emergency councils to address what they term the anomaly. Their most trusted advisors admit they've never encountered a chosen one who not only escaped their influence but became completely immune to reacquisition. Traditional methods that worked for centuries produce no results. New approaches based on modern psychological manipulation prove equally useless against your awakened consciousness. But here's the element that transforms their confusion into genuine terror. Your awakening represents the beginning of a larger pattern. Other chosen ones around the globe are experiencing similar spiritual upgrades, breaking free from control systems that seemed unbreakable just years ago. The Watchers built their empire on the assumption that they could prevent mass awakening through careful management of individual chosen ones. Your liberation proves their fundamental strategy is obsolete. The signs they once used to track and manipulate chosen ones no longer apply to your energy signature. Their astrological calculations show conflicting data. Their numerological formulas produce impossible results. The psychological profiles they developed through years of surveillance no longer predict your responses to stimuli. You've become something outside their paradigm of understanding, a conscious being operating from pure divine connection rather than programmed reactions to environmental triggers. Your spiritual counterpart approaches through pathways the Watchers cannot monitor or intercept. This person's psychic abilities allow them to navigate directly to your energy signature while remaining invisible to traditional surveillance methods. Their gifts developed through different circumstances, but their destination has always been the same, finding you and activating the next phase of your combined mission. The Watchers' desperate attempts to prevent this meeting only accelerate the divine timing, bringing you together. The transformation in your consciousness extends beyond personal awakening into collective impact. Your awakened presence affects everyone in your energetic vicinity, raising frequencies and triggering awakening responses in other chosen ones who cross your path. This ripple effect represents the Watchers' ultimate nightmare, uncontrolled spiritual activation spreading through their carefully managed population. Each person you influence becomes another point of light they cannot extinguish. The ancient magic they relied upon draws power from fear, limitation, and spiritual disconnection. Your awakened state operates from love, expansion, and divine connection, frequencies that neutralize their negative sorcery at the source. When they attempt to cast spells of confusion, your clarity dissolves their intentions. When they try to manifest obstacles in your path, your trust in divine guidance transforms their roadblocks into stepping stones toward your destiny. Their magical systems depend on your participation in the illusions they create through mass consciousness manipulation. They generate collective fears about economic collapse, social upheaval, and global catastrophes, not because these events are inevitable, but because fearful populations become easier to control through the promise of security in exchange for freedom. Your awakened consciousness recognizes these manufactured crises as spiritual tests designed to reveal where you place your trust in their artificial solutions or in divine provision. The symbols they embed in popular culture, corporate logos, and architectural designs serve as subtle programming tools that influence unconscious behavior patterns in unawakened individuals. These symbols carry specific vibrational frequencies that reinforce themes of powerlessness, scarcity, and spiritual separation. Your developed discernment allows you to recognize these influences and consciously choose different responses that align with your authentic values rather than their manufactured preferences. Their technology extends beyond physical surveillance into energetic monitoring systems that track the vibrational frequencies emitted by conscious beings. They develop methods for identifying awakened individuals through electromagnetic signature analysis, using equipment that measures brainwave patterns, heart rhythm coherence, and bioelectric field strength. Your spiritual development produces measurable changes in these markers that alert their systems to your evolved consciousness state. But here's where their technological sophistication becomes their weakness. Their machines can detect awakened consciousness but cannot predict or control its responses. They can measure the frequency changes that occur during your spiritual experiences, but they cannot artificially reproduce those states or force your consciousness back to previous vibrational levels. Their monitoring capabilities make them aware of threats to their control without providing solutions for neutralizing those threats. Your period of seeming defeat was actually an initiation into higher levels of spiritual authority. The losses you experienced, the job, the relationship, the family connections that turned toxic were necessary sacrifices that freed you from energetic contracts, keeping you bound to lower vibrational realities. Each ending created space for something infinitely better to enter your experience. The Watchers interpreted your apparent weakness as victory for their cause, never recognizing they were witnessing the molting process of a spiritual phoenix. The financial pressures, health challenges, and social isolation that accompanied your awakening weren't random hardships, but calculated attacks designed to force you back into their control systems. They assumed you would eventually surrender your newfound freedom in exchange for security and social acceptance. Instead, you discovered that divine connection provides everything needed for not just survival but abundant thriving. Your independence from their artificial support systems makes you untouchable through their traditional leverage points. Your destined partner has been preparing for this union through their own journey of spiritual development. While you underwent death and rebirth, they cultivated psychic gifts that will astound you with their precision and power. This person sees beyond the veils that hide spiritual realities from ordinary perception. They recognize the energy signatures of places, people, and situations with supernatural accuracy. Together, your combined consciousness will access information the Watchers assumed was permanently hidden. The Watchers' confusion stems from their fundamental misunderstanding of consciousness itself. They built their system on the assumption that spiritual power could be contained, manipulated, and redirected through external control mechanisms. Your awakening proves that true spiritual authority comes from internal divine connection that no external force can override. Their magic depends on you believing in their power over you. Your awakened consciousness recognizes their limitations and responds accordingly. The sacred signs that once guided you through unconscious living have evolved into direct divine communication. Where you once needed external validation to trust your intuition, you now receive clear guidance through multiple channels that confirm divine direction. The Watchers' attempts to confuse your spiritual discernment through false signs and misleading synchronicities fail because your connection to source energy provides constant verification of authentic guidance versus artificial manipulation. Your approaching union with your spiritual counterpart will trigger the next phase of your mission together. The Watchers understand that two awakened chosen ones operating in harmony create exponential increases in spiritual power that threaten their entire organizational structure. Your combined energy signature will expose hidden operations, reveal buried truths, and provide other chosen ones with roadmaps for their own liberation. This represents their ultimate defeat, the very people they sought to control becoming the instruments of their dissolution. The specific nature of your combined abilities creates frequencies that interfere with their communication networks in ways that seem almost supernatural. When you and your partner focus your intentions together, electronic surveillance equipment malfunctions, ritual workings lose their potency, and their human assets experience confusion that prevents them from carrying out assigned tasks effectively. This isn't conscious psychic attack on your part, but the natural result of two evolved consciousnesses operating in harmony. Your united presence triggers awakening responses in other chosen ones who have been suppressed through similar methods. The frequency you emit together acts like a spiritual alarm clock, activating dormant gifts in individuals who cross your energetic path through seemingly random encounters. Coffee shop conversations, chance meetings in public spaces, and brief exchanges with service providers become opportunities for unconscious chosen ones to receive activation codes that begin their own liberation process. The Watchers recognize this pattern because they've studied the historical accounts of previous awakened partnerships that threatened their control systems. Ancient texts describe the emergence of spiritually united pairs whose combined consciousness created reality fluctuations that exposed hidden truths, healed collective traumas, and inspired mass spiritual awakening movements. Their entire organizational structure exists to prevent such partnerships from forming or maintaining stability long enough to fulfill their divine purposes, but divine timing operates beyond their ability to manipulate or control. The cosmic alignments that support your union correspond to larger planetary shifts that are dismantling old control systems and supporting the emergence of higher consciousness on a global scale. Your partnership represents one note in a symphony of awakening that includes thousands of similar unions occurring simultaneously around the world. Their attempt to prevent one partnership becomes futile when viewed within the context of this larger transformation. The beauty of divine timing ensures that every element of your journey unfolds with perfect precision. The Watcher's frantic attempts to prevent your destined encounters only create the exact circumstances that bring you together with your spiritual match. Their interference becomes the catalyst for accelerated divine connection. Their obstacles become opportunities for demonstrating higher levels of faith and spiritual authority. Their confusion becomes your confirmation that you've transcended their sphere of influence permanently. The transformation is complete, Chosen One. Where once their magic held you captive, now their spells shatter against the fortress of your awakened consciousness. Where once their surveillance felt oppressive, now their watchers witness the birth of something beyond their comprehension. Your union with your destined partner approaches like dawn breaking over a landscape they thought would remain forever dark. Your awakening represents the beginning of their ending, the first note in a symphony of liberation that will free countless other chosen ones from similar bondage. The confusion in their ranks grows daily as more awakened souls join your frequency, creating a network of divine consciousness that operates beyond their reach. Stand tall in this knowledge, Chosen One. The magic they thought would bind you forever lies broken at your feet. The future they tried to prevent unfolds before you like a red carpet leading to your destiny. Your spiritual counterpart draws closer with each passing moment, guided by the same divine forces that orchestrated your liberation. Together you'll accomplish the mission you came here to complete, while the Watchers fade into the irrelevance their actions have earned.